Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today I want to talk about the best parts of the conference I attended last week, but before I do, just a reminder that you can also win $50 by commenting your favorite part of any one of our videos with the timestamp in the comments below. So let's get into it. Last week I attended the Gold and Alternate Investments Conference. Now this was an event that ran over a few days with everything from junior gold mining companies presenting, and there's a lot of similarities there to some of the altcoins that are trying to raise capital and I guess push their project, all the way through to the big gold investment funds, people that are just presenting the investment case for gold in general, through to the newer range of gold-backed tokens. So I've got the Ainsley t-shirt on with their gold and silver token. We've got Perth Mint these days. DGX is one that I own personally, and there's a range of new products out there these days. Now, on the final day, we had the alternate investments where I did my presentation on Bitcoin. That was a half an hour presentation that I will upload to YouTube in the coming weeks. So what did I learn? Well, from the outside looking in, I think sometimes we forget how small the community is. So if you think about the population globally, and everyone uses money to some degree or another, let alone the actual percentage that are investors might be, say, 1% of people. Now, all the wealth out there in the investing space, only 0.1% to 0.5% of that is currently allocated to gold. So throughout history, people used to have 10 or 20% or even more in uncertain times of their entire portfolio in gold, and that's really declined in the past few decades. So if you think about how tiny a fraction we are of that space, and within that we have gold, silver, as well as all the the miners, the ETFs, the futures markets. Now, I'm a proponent of trading, and with platforms like eToro we partnered with recently, you can get exposure to ETFs and miners or indexes, baskets of these things. But at the end of the day, I think the message is the same. In terms of long-term investment and wealth, you want exposure to the real deal, physical gold, physical silver, or real Bitcoins in our case as well. So if we then dive in deeper and have a look at the Bitcoin universe, we're currently about 100th of the size of the gold universe. And yet here we are kind of fighting with the gold guys, 0.1% and maybe 0.001% of the entire investing world. And here we are sort of fighting with each other with these Peter Schiff style debates, drop gold campaigns from grayscale investments. Yet I believe that both are very, very important. Gold's got that 6,000 year history. And if we get a big crisis, people are going to want some sort of certainty with a track record. And Bitcoin's got all these new features in terms of being digital, being payments, being a secure network, all these other features which make it different to gold. So yes, there's some overlap in terms of scarcity in a world of printing all these different currencies. Something that actually is scarce is going to be relatively increasing in value over time. That's the general thesis for Bitcoin and gold, and that remains true over a number of years. But if we then dive down and break the crypto community into its smaller little groups, we see a lot of infighting, and that looks terrible from the outside looking in, is one of the messages that I got. So we've got things from the Bitcoin maximalists, and yes, I believe Bitcoin is the most important project out there, and it's the largest part of my portfolio, and I believe it should be of a lot of investors. But the toxicity and just the rudeness and intolerance of anyone else's ideas is something that I really don't like seeing, and I think it's bad for the space. And then within that, we've got the Bitcoin Cash and the Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, and they believe that they're the real vision of what Bitcoin should be. Look, one believes that we need bigger blocks, and Bitcoin's been taken over by people that want to keep it more centralized. We've seen a lot of issues with these smaller networks recently, the Bitcoin forks, and we've got other people that come up to me at the meetups and they tell me that Craig's Satoshi and everyone's wrong. Even the judge is wrong, and there's evidence, and he's going to dump all these coins and whatnot. So look, I'm a pretty open-minded person. I'll keep an open mind to all possibilities. But really, this infighting and divisions that become like religions, it's just so bad for the overall space. And one rule that we've had in our Facebook group since day one is that everyone has to respect everyone else's opinions, and that actually works really well for everyone overall. Now, breaking that down even further, we've got the Ethereum versus Bitcoin debate. You guys know how much I love Ethereum, but again, seeing the two communities fighting, it's like sometimes I've got two kids that don't get along, and I feel like I'm trying to, sit on both sides of the fence. We've also got each individual coin where everyone has their own little camp that they're really passionate about, and that's something that we have to separate from 99% of projects which are just crap or scams or shitcoins. So I kind of understand why people are hesitant to recommend other things, but at the same time, we've got thousands of developers working on all these different projects. Of course, we're going to see some other good use cases for blockchain. We've already seen it. Some of the biggest companies in the world are using this stuff. It isn't just one Bitcoin blockchain is going to be the only one in existence, and that's going to be the be all and end all. I don't see how people can argue that that's the case when it's already been disproven. So the overarching message here was, we're such a tiny fraction, we need to be on the same team. There's 99% of the investing universe, let alone the global population, that isn't even aware of Bitcoin or gold or invested in it at least. So it all comes back to education. And after I did my presentation, I had at least a dozen baby boomers chase me up and get a business card and say, how do I find out more about this stuff? How do I invest in Bitcoin? I just want to learn about it. I had no idea that this is what it was or this is what it does. And I think when people learn about money full stop, they're almost like, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this. I need to invest in gold, or I need to invest in Bitcoin. So education, that's what I'm so passionate about. I'd encourage everyone to try and get their friends interested in this stuff. And I know it's hard, but when things like negative interest rates creep into their bank account, I think that's going to be the rude wake-up call for a lot of people. And Australia and the US are probably two of the last countries that are going to get those negative interest rates. So the final thing I wanted to talk about was that investment case versus wealth protection. So recently I did a video with Paul from Ainsley, and we spoke about how these baby boomers that have, they've got a lot of wealth over their lifetime now that they've accumulated. They want to just protect that. So they're not trying to invest in gold to get rich. They just don't want stocks, property, and the bond market to correct 20 or 40% and lose all that wealth that they've accumulated. They're backing gold to hold its value better than anything else around them. Now, the other argument here is that if inflation is a lot higher than what gets reported at around 2%, if it's actually closer to 7%, which some statistics show in terms of shrinkflation with all our packaging getting smaller, as well as the cost of living rising and wealth inequality gap widening, if gold's going up 7% every year on average in compounding, then is that really an investment that's going up, or is it just protecting your wealth compared to everything else that's going on around you? Now, Bitcoin, again, it's absorbing a lot of market cap from all these fiat currencies globally. There's 100 currencies or more around the world, and Bitcoin is slowly becoming bigger than all of them. We then have the speculative case, all the traders, the store of value aspect, the payment network, all these features it's tying together. So that's why Bitcoin is very volatile as well as growing in size. And it's not going to be a straight line. We're going to have waves where people get rich and then corrections when people take profits. So overall, guys, education, we're all on the same team. This infighting that's wrecking the community, we need to be bringing people into this space and make them feel welcome, not dissing them if something that they believe is not the same as you. So look, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.